All right, I'm saying that these councillors say there is nothing they can do, and what I say to them is they can do what the Poplar councillors did in the 1920s when they said it's better to break the law than to break the poor, right? 10,000 people marched behind the Poplar councillors, right, when they went marched to prison. They wasn't in prison long because people fought to get them out of it. These councillors could stand up. They could be leaders of a fight back in this city. This is Brighton. Brighton would get behind them if they fought back.
Absolutely, because this is a very radical and a very forward-thinking town.
Exactly, a very radical and a very determined town as well, with a fine tradition of fighting for its rights.
Yeah, and you're from the Coldine area, which is a council estate.
Youth project. It was built as a council estate. It's not a council.
But they say it's gentrified it. They've sold a lot of it off.
Well, they sold it off years ago.
Yeah, I know. But it's the same with Mole Scooby. There's a massive estate there, and I've no doubt there are hundreds of kids running. Well, they say they're running feral, but they're not. They're just bored, aren't they?
Of course they're just bored. Of course they're just bored. You can't expect young people to sit at home with their mums and dads. Young people, it's part of their natural development to want to be with one another and to want to have independence. And if we don't provide them with youth clubs and youth services, then we are setting them up to experiment with drugs and underage sex.
And of course, privatised prisons means revolving door policy on that.
Oh my God, exactly. And they're cutting the education budget.
3 million?
At the same time,
3 billion,
they're cutting the education budget. You know, it's just...
Oh, it's insane, I know. So do you realise that today they're voting on to give themselves a 1.4% pay rise in Parliament?
Well, typical.
That's another £1,000 a year on top of their...
The thing is, right, it's peanuts, the youth budget, right? 61 people on this planet have got as much wealth as 50% of the rest of the planet, right? There's the problem. Yeah. There's the problem right there, right? That billions and billions of pounds are concentrated in the hands of a few individuals instead of being spent on health, on education and on youth services, services for the elderly and the disabled, all these things, funding proper wages for people. We're so low paid in this country. You know, it's all an absolute disgrace, and I say, you know, this should be the start of the fight back. I'm really enthused by this because this is about young people, and if young people get behind this, it could be the start of a fight.
So of course we got the ongoing strikes in this town with Southern Railways. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm 100% behind.
Yeah, so are we.
Behind the railway unions. I think, thank God, someone's standing up.
They've got the guts to do it.
Thank God, someone's standing up.
And of course the mainstream media.
Postal workers going on strike, and BA's going on strike. So good job.
And I'll tell you this much, right? And I've heard it from the horse's mouth. I know someone who works for Network Rail. Now they've been told it's going to be we've been told it's going to be privatised. Chris Grayling's when he said it. They're going to go on strike, and they bring the whole thing to standstill. They do the signals and points. Are you aware of that?
No.
So would you be in favour of that? Them going on strike as well?
Absolutely. I think what we should have actually is a general strike.
Yeah.
We should all go out on strike together and say to this government, you on your bike, do you just get to slash everything that we've fought for? On your bike, you go and tax the rich. Do you know what I mean? And then put that money into these.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, they're spending money, wasting money, policing fracking demonstrations, which we're part of. 4 million quid at Balcombe, for instance. But they've got no police on the streets in Brighton. They've cut police officers.
They cut the domestic violence units. They cut the rape units. Right? When they make cuts in the police, do you know what I mean? They're not cutting surveillance. What they're cutting is the things. Crime affects working class people more than it affects anybody else. Do you know what I mean? We need the police. Although actually we need proper democratic control of the police.
Yeah. And of course, once they're privatised, they're unaccountable. And did you know there were police on the streets in Newcastle last weekend armed with rifles? Automatic rifles.
No.
So what the government are saying, they're going to roll this out around the country, or across the country, and when they're privatised, we basically have private security guards armed on the streets. Is that a good idea, do you think?
Definitely not. Definitely. It's setting us up for, you know, we'll be like in America.
It'll be martial law eventually. That's what it's setting us up for, is martial law. Oh, darling, no, that's fine. So you'll just be on Truthferretfilms on YouTube later. Right. So say hello to the world, because the world is watching.
Hello, keep fighting.
That's it, darling. That's the spirit. Thank you very much, sweetheart. And this is Brighton Town Hall, where all this is going on. This is where it all happens, people, in Brighton. This very, very swank building. Notice they don't cut that. What's she said?
It's only meant to be a 2-year accommodation.
There you go. It's all happening there. There's a meeting going on at the moment to assess funding cuts for Brighton's Old City Council. And basically, as usual, support that suffers.